at the end of day 2 Streaming Media West. We're here with Tom Wild, CEO of a newly named company. What's the new name?
That's right, Ramp.
And what's the old name?
Everyzing.
Okay, and you guys changed the name today?
We did, this morning at 8 o'clock East Coast time.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about what was formerly known as Everyzing, currently known as Ramp.
Yep. So we spun out of a government research company called BBN Technologies. BBN has been doing research for Department of Defense type applications for 40, 50 years now. And one of the areas of research has been speech to text, natural language processing, search, primarily for monitoring of phone call and broadcast media. When they were acquired by some venture capitalists, they decided to spin some of the intellectual property out into standalone companies, and we were the first that they decided to do that with.
So there was basically some heavyweight government budget behind solving some of these problems.
That's right. Yeah, they spent probably $100 million over 20 years on the body of technology that we spun out with, including about 20 patents. And you can imagine the scale that the government was trying to solve for, and they were very interested in speaker independent, topic independent, format independent type of technologies to solve these problems. And it turns out that those are also very similar requirements to the big media industry. They have the same kind of issues.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So it's almost like you have a Bell Labs scenario and then commercializing it. So what was the opportunity you saw? Where was the void in this case, the media industry?
Yeah, and it's part and parcel with the rebranding as well. The first thing we looked at was how do you create rich metadata from audio and video files, and we started life as a podcast search engine. And so the consumer type brand was really based on that approach. We quickly decided to move towards a B2B platform solution, and Ramp is a much stronger brand identity for that, we feel. But the big idea was audio and video is exploding on the web in terms of the amount of content and the amount of consumption. But one of the major problems audio and video presents is how to make it discoverable. It usually shows up with a sort of paucity of tags and text, and therefore is difficult to index. It's difficult for Google and Bing to find that content. And thus, this rich, highly valuable content is kind of left out of the search economy. And so an ability to create rich metadata and plug all of that back into the search economy, we believed would solve one of the key emerging problems on the web.
So basically it does speech to text. And have you seen a progression in kind of how good that technology is? So is it much better now than it was 10 years ago versus 20 years ago?
Well, I mean, I think that's why there's been $100 million invested in it, by the government, because it's a very hard problem. It's not something two guys in a garage would tackle. And accuracy matters, and scalability matters, and speed matters. So that's core attributes required for something in terms of speech to text. We then took that as, it's now kind of a small piece of our overall solution, but an important one, and built a whole publishing and search capability around it. So we use it for creating, in the case of news media, we might use it to create actual time-stamped transcripts. In the case of sports and entertainment, we use it to do word spotting and automatic tagging of that content, which also helps the discoverability of that content.
Got it. So can you give an example of maybe, it's news organizations producing content every day about current events.
Right.
Seems like a no-brainer to use this type of solution.
It is. So we have kind of a who's who of national news type organizations. So Fox News and Fox Business have deployed our full solution across their sites. So we power their site search, we power their SEO and topic pages, we power portions of their video player experience. CNBC uses us to tag 100% of their videos. Reuters uses us to index and tag 100% of their videos from around the world. So for news, as you point out, it's a must-have.
And I assume they can then make dashboards for both internal use and then maybe share some content externally. So the internal news team, Michael Jackson dies, search for him, find a bunch of video clips, piece together a story,
Yep.
and then maybe making it available to partners and then even consumers.
No, you've got it exactly right. So CNBC actually takes the metadata we produce, injects it back into their CMS workflow, and then uses it in the back office to do just what you described. And then in the case of a Fox News, it's actually published all the way out to the end user on the Fox News site. And increasingly now, using metadata as a means to improve and extend syndication strategies, right? So in the case of CNBC, one of their frustrations by their partners was, hey, these videos aren't tagged with ticker symbols, right? So if we're Yahoo Finance and we're syndicating CNBC content, well, when that content comes in, we'd really like it to be fully tagged with tickers. So our RAMP workflow product creates the transcript, extracts the tags, and then with our natural language processing, transforms those tags into the proper ticker symbol. And that can be anything. You know, we can say, when Steve Ballmer is mentioned, the tag should be MSFT, you know, or it can be the company name itself. So that's an example where metadata really helps unlock the value.
So in the background, you can connect things. The name Steve Ballmer, company Microsoft,
That's right.
MSFT.
And when you think about it, that's not possible if you don't start with rich metadata in the first place. We need to know that Steve Ballmer is mentioned in that video for us to be able to tag it MSFT. The problem most videos have is the titles are somewhat generic, and there's relatively few number of tags because all of these companies have limited editorial resources to adequately tag and describe all of these videos. So an automated solution is critical.
So it seems like a lot of these companies probably have their own video platforms. So how do you work with a company that has an existing video platform?
Yeah, when we started the business and built the platform, one of the premises that we set in stone was we were not going to make any of our customers, you know, throw away investment in infrastructure. We would be agnostic as to what video CMS they were using, what CMS they're using, what ad server they're using. And that's why we call it content optimization. We wrap all of those things and optimize them so that the publisher gets more value. So we work with Brightcove, the platform. We have integrated with in-house player platforms like NBC, NBC's in-house player, and have yet to find any existing infrastructure that we couldn't work with.
It seems like you've delivered a pretty robust solution, but everybody always wants more. So what are some of the feature requests you've gotten recently that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I think some of the big trends in 2010 in this area are, social and mobile have now kind of washed into this area and are key requirements. So you'll see more from us on those fronts for sure. And I think increased sort of managed services as well. As media companies continue to be pressured in terms of resources, they're looking for more turnkey kind of managed solutions. And so, we tend to play more at the top end of the market rather than sort of a mass market offering, and that's very consistent then with how we work.
So basically on the managed services front, it would be building out your infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think, and also taking over more of the role that an editor might play on a site. So things like managing your site search does require some care and feeding, right? It's managing your synonyms and managing your keyword merchandising and doing analytics. And so we're increasingly offering those as services in addition to the technology itself.
Are you working at all with any retailers in the resale market?
We have not yet. It's an interesting question as video e-commerce starts to merge together, and clear early signs that video promotes session engagement and product sales ultimately. So I think that's an emerging area. I think government and education are also interesting. I mean, in the end, virtually every company of significant size out there has to begin to think like a media company. They have to produce media because that's how the marketing conversation will happen. Through video, through social. So, I think all of this kind of converges into the future where there won't be any major company that isn't behaving like a media company.
All right, well, Tom, I appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Great.
And let's go get some cocktails.
Good stuff. Thanks for having me.